What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode in the F1 2015 Back to Front Challenge here with me. This is the Italian Grand Prix. It's been quite a while since I've uploaded an episode of this series. That's because a couple of weeks ago I came down with a pretty stinking cold and my voice hasn't really been up to par for all of that time. But I'm back now, back ready to upload and commentate on some more of these videos. And what a video to start with this is, because this race was unbelievable. I can tell you now, sitting here, that this race was really something very special indeed. As per usual, we're starting from the back of the grid as Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes car in championship season mode. We're currently, I believe, 38 points behind Nico Rosberg in the championship standings. So now, more than ever, we really need to start closing the gap on our teammate with a race win. But it's going to be tricky at the Italian Grand Prix, a circuit which is known as a power circuit, a circuit that's all about having a high top speed on the long straights here. So it's going to be really difficult because obviously the Mercedes powered cars definitely have the advantage in this game. So we're going to be starting on the prime tyres, which has been a common theme in this series so far because it means that we can run the option tyres later on with low fuel on, and that definitely gives us a speed advantage towards the end of the race. So we're going to get started here in the Italian Grand Prix, starting from P20, and you can see that there's slightly overcast conditions, so it looks like it could possibly rain, although these races are only 25%, so quite short. It's unlikely that rain is going to affect the conditions of this Grand Prix. And I've been waffling on whilst there's been action going on the track. We've got to P14 by the end of the first corner. Here's a replay of us going through the first turn, and Kvyat there squabbling with one of the Force India cars, Sergio Perez that was, as we came through and moved up into 14th place. And then we're now on the back of Maldonado and Marcus Ericsson in the Sauber, and we're going to have a look up the inside of those two cars into the second chicane. So we're into P12 here already on lap 1, and you can see ahead of us the Force India of Hulkenberg. They're overtaking Max Verstappen into the Ascari chicane, and we've got past Verstappen as well as he basically moves out of the way of us. So we're coming towards Parabolica to complete the first lap in the Italian Grand Prix, and it's all going on up ahead of us. There's about 4 or 5 cars here squabbling. We go up the inside of Hulkenberg and then hit the back of Carlos Sainz and get past him as well. We're into 9th position here, and Grosjean was trying to get into the pits and he nearly took Nasser in with him. That was really strange. Nasser just about staying out on the track, and now we've overtaken Nasser and Daniel Ricciardo and moved up into 6th place at the end of the very first lap of this Italian Grand Prix. So this has been one of the best opening laps that we've had throughout the whole series. And here's a replay further back. This is Jenson Button's McLaren squabbling with Marcus Ericsson. And you see a similar incident there to what happened with Nasser and Grosjean, because Ericsson pulls over to the right hand side to go into the pit lane with Jenson Button on his right side, and that sends Button into the wall and he gets a puncture but manages somehow to avoid going into the pits. So he's got to do a full lap with a front right puncture and some damage to his front wing as well. This is lap 2. And there's a yellow flag. There was a Williams in the wall, and Nico Rosberg has been caught up in an incident and he has slowed right down, and he's only on the pit straight, so he's got a full lap to do, having been involved in an incident presumably with the Williams. And now we will see, this is Massa going up the inside of Rosberg for the lead of the race in Parabolica on lap 2, and there's going to be some kind of contact here to put him into the wall on the pit straight, and you see that takes him out of the race on the spot. Goodness me, what happened here? It looked like Rosberg was trying to come into the pit lane. We've seen that 3 times in this race already, and Rosberg plows into the wall and has a front left puncture and a broken front wing. That has completely ruined his race and certainly given us the impetus to go on and get a really good result here, which will do us good in the championship. This is lap 3 now, and there's yellow flags out again as we see a slow McLaren. That's Button, and he's taken out Raikkonen. So we saw Jenson Button have an incident at the end of the very first lap, and he was crawling back to the pit lane This is on board with Sebastian Vettel, who's leading the race, by the way. And he just about manages to get past Jenson Button, although that wasn't easy. And then you can see from the back of Vettel, Raikkonen just gets spun around. This is on board with Raikkonen, so we'll see here from his perspective what's happened. And Jenson just turns into him and causes him to spin off the track. He's facing backwards. And look at his hand on the wheel. What is he doing? With his hand on the steering wheel, he gets into reverse and is now trying to turn around. And then he's been absolutely tagged by someone. What an absolutely crazy start to this race. That's one of the Manners, who has been retired on the spot because he's crashed into the back of Kimi Raikkonen. Why did he not slow down? It was obvious that Raikkonen was in the middle of the track. This race has been absolutely mad already. This is only lap 4 now. And now we're on board with Vettel again at the same spot as he had the problem with Jenson Button. He's now got a problem with Nico Rosberg, who is crawling back to the pits after his problem. And now we've got an illegal overtake on Nico Hülkenberg, even though he has been behind us the entire time. I'm speechless. I don't know what to say. This race is completely balmy. Why did it give us an illegal overtake on Nico Hülkenberg? We've been ahead of him since the start of lap 2. And now we're down in 3rd place. And I can't even keep up with what's going on in this race. It's absolutely mad. Vettel has pitted. And now we're going up the inside of Nico Hülkenberg, although we've pulled out of that. We're going to try and overtake him later on in the lap. Although he's got a much better exit out of the first chicane. And he's in fact pulled away from us. This is lap 6 now. And we're actually getting overtaken by Daniel Ricciardo with a Renault engine. How is this happening? I mean, he's got DRS, but still, we're struggling for pace on these primes. And I think we're just going to have to let these guys go for now and come back to them later on. And they've both pitted. The front two, Hülkenberg and Ricciardo, have both pitted at the end of lap 6. So they're going on to the primes. We are already on the prime tyres. So we've got at least another lap or 2 on these tyres to try and pull a gap in the clean air and hopefully come out ahead of those guys. Maldonado there, you saw in P3 very momentarily. And now we're coming round on lap 8 and Rosberg has had another incident. This is absolutely insane. And this is now on board with Rosberg. And one of the Manners is going very slowly round Parabolica. And Nico's just going into the back of him and eventually gets spun round. And we arrive on the scene. Nico Rosberg here having possibly the worst race of his Formula 1 career. So many incidents. And that explains what's happened with the Manor. He's got a front right puncture. And he's still blocking Rosberg. Goodness me, those two not happy with each other at all. Rosberg's continued, so I guess he didn't have any damage to his car. But he's a lap down. He's completely out of contention. We have pitted for option tyres now on lap 9. And as you see us coming out of the pits, Vettel and Bottas are squabbling for the lead. I don't actually know when Bottas pitted. He must have come in earlier because he wasn't up with us when we were chasing Vettel and Hülkenberg. But those two are really squabbling for the lead. And in fact, Bottas has moved into the lead ahead of Sebastian Vettel. And we've managed to get ahead of Ricciardo and Hülkenberg, which is good news for us. This is lap 10, going on to lap 11. And now we're setting fastest laps as Vettel and Bottas are squabbling once again for the lead of this race. Bottas, with the speed advantage in that Williams, has got ahead of Sebastian Vettel. But surely that won't be the end of that. Vettel will try and come back at him, and we are very quickly catching up to both of these guys. And we've got DRS now on Vettel, who's going around the outside of Valtteri Bottas, coming up to Ascari, as we look on the inside of Bottas into Ascari and get through, pushing Bottas slightly wide in the process. And now we're going to be able to have a look on Sebastian Vettel as we come up to Parabolica on the end of lap 13. And now we might be able to take the lead of the race for the first time. Are we going to have a look up the inside, or are we going to hold back and wait to get the DRS as we come down the pit straight? And we're looking alongside Sebastian Vettel, but he looks to be pulling away from us slightly. But now we've got DRS, we're going to tuck back into the slipstream and make the move up the inside as we're on board with Vettel going side by side into the first chicane. He actually broke slightly later than us, and there was contact as well. but we have managed to take the lead of the Italian Grand Prix with option tyres, but we still now on the last lap have not been able to pull away from the Ferrari. He is right in the slipstream. This is not a done deal yet. As it stands, we're going to close the championship gap by 25 points because Rosberg is nowhere. But now, even as we come through Ascari, Vettel is not far away. We've got one corner to go in this absolutely bonkers Italian Grand Prix. Can we just get a good run through here? And then it should be an easy run up to the line to take the victory. We've gone out of Parabolica and we are going to win this mental Italian Grand Prix. I don't even know what to say as we cross the line. I'm exhausted just having to commentate on that race. That was completely insane, but we have won from Sebastian Vettel. Valtteri Bottas in third place. What an... I've never experienced a race like that in this game ever. So many incidents involving the front runners, the back markers, people having incidents going into the pit lane. Unbelievable. And we've benefited from all of that to take the victory and claim 25 points in the Drivers' Championship. Nico Hülkenberg there with a 5-second penalty. Fernando Alonso getting in the points for McLaren Honda. That says plenty about what kind of race this was. And we go down slightly. Kimi Raikkonen there in 13th and Rosberg all the way down in 15th. 2 time penalties to his name, 10 seconds worth of penalties. Raikkonen had a penalty. Grosjean and Nasser both picked up penalties, but they actually retired from the race. They didn't finish. Jenson Button finishes 2 laps down in a 25% race. There are the championship standings after this Grand Prix. We've closed the gap to 13 points on Rosberg. That's the closest that we've been for a very long time. And yeah, just a huge relief after falling 38 points back after Belgium. That's given us a big boost in this championship now. There's still plenty of races to go to overturn that gap. You saw there that Mercedes have a huge championship lead as well. I'm going for a lie down because that was absolutely mental. I'll see you for Singapore.